What? Let's do this one. This one's called College. I think that this is a bit from an older Steven Crowder video, but somebody recommended that I watched it, and they just posted it 4 days ago on Crowder Bits. I got to get a Papa Gut bit channel. What would I call it? Bites? Beast. Huh? Anyway, I think that this is about SA culture, if you know what I mean. I'm curious. I'm interested. Something I'm interested. Let's see what it is. Let's see what we got here.
You're a hero? Who the said that? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're so proud of it. Have you ever been raped?
Wow. Real stuff. Ah, yeah. So it says like SA culture is a myth. That's what it says.
Everyone, this idiot ass
Which I disagree with.
back on campus.
Or that. How are you?
My name is Macy, and I've been raped. So.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So are you really gonna sit on my campus and tell me that rape culture is a myth today?
Yes.
I don't feel like I need to change your mind because.
Why is it called College Chick Goes Nuts? I don't understand. Like, why the dunk title? Like, okay, let's say you don't believe that like this like SA culture exists. You're wrong. I can we can have a conversation. We're gonna do that in this. But like you're talking, you know that this is gonna be super like, heavily antagonistic and triggering to somebody who's been sexually assaulted. So, especially on college campuses where a lot of times these can go underreported because a lot of colleges have their own police and like the police outside of a college. This has happened, to people that I know where like the real police won't take care of anything because it's the college police, and then the college police don't really follow up on a lot, So,
Why?
Have you ever been raped?
I've not been raped.
Well, then I mean, can I change your mind by saying I've been raped, and a good majority of my friends have been raped. So.
No, that wouldn't be a convincing argument. I'm very sorry. No, I think
Do you think rape culture is a myth?
yes.
Why? Tell me why.
Well, would you like to sit down? I don't generally consider myself an idiot asshole, but just for her sake, I'll play one on TV. This time I allowed her to assume that I know nothing so that she could teach me. Thank you.
okay.
We had a bunch of cameras outside. What's your name?
Macy,
Macy. Nice to meet you, Macy.
nice to meet you.
So you just yelled this idiot is on campus. And
did.
So do you first? I want to. You're obviously aware of what we've done here.
I'm
this kind
I'm
of
aware.
changed my mind is. Yeah, rape culture. I guess we need to define. How do you define rape culture first?
I define
I guess that's the question. I think when it comes down to sexual assault culture, I guess I would define it as some type of a culture that exists that normalizes a form of sexual assault. In the United States, obviously it's nowhere near other countries. Like, let's be honest. But I talk about this a lot, and I'm going to bring it up again. And this is the problem, is that there's something called, I don't know how you would define it, but it's basically like unintentional sexual assault. And I talk about this every time, but this is so if you're a young man especially, you can make yourself aware of the situation. Because obviously, I think that most people aren't like, I'm going to go do this thing. But it comes down to societal conditioning on some things that make specifically or usually women feel uncomfortable in a way where they don't feel like they can accurately consent without fearing for some kind of like harm in some capacity potentially. Right? So this is how it starts. Let's say third date. I always do this one. Third date, right? Got Billy picking up his girl. Third date from her house. He picks her up. Right? This is her house. She has a nice house. Right? Takes her out to the old Applebee's. Unfortunately, one time I went to Applebee's and a bunch of kids grabbed a bunch of the red crayons. This just looks like a cube, but that's what Applebee's looks like. Red crayons on Apple. And they threw them on my windshield of my car. I didn't realize it till the next day. They melted, and I have to get new windshield wipers. That's annoying. Anyway, after going to Applebee's, takes him to his house. He has he has a different house. It's like I don't know. It's slightly different. It's smaller. It's weird looking. But he has a good heart. I guess. After that, they watch some TV, Netflix and chill, we'll say. I'm just going to put chill because I can't do the thing. He goes for it. Now they've been dating, right? They dated before. And she's like, no, I'm not in the mood. He goes for the kiss. Maybe she was even into the kiss. But he goes down there and she's not in the mood. 15, 20 minutes later, he goes for it again. She's not in the mood. My head's in the way. She's like, no. A little while later, he's persistent, right? Because a lot of times society teaches us persistence as men, right? And I think that generally persistence isn't a bad thing as a guy, but what's the line, right? She says no again, but she's starting to get a little nervous. And so by the fourth time, he goes for it again, and she they do it. They have sex. So like, what's the problem here? Well, society kind of teaches us to be persistent. And this is a situation that a lot of people, a lot of guys and girls are put into without realizing how this can be like very yucky for girls. And you don't have to call it sexual assault if you don't want to, but it's definitely a violation of established boundaries, right? And so what happens is like, you're a guy, you're on a date, you pick this girl up from your house, or from her house, excuse me. So you have control of the car. You take her out to eat and you pay the money, right? You pay for dinner. That's the standard. Now, obviously, we all know that just because you pay for something doesn't mean that like anybody has to have sex with you. But does she know that about you? If you're being so pushy, maybe she feels like, you know, you feel entitled to some of that food, to some bang on the buck, right? Because she doesn't really know. You're on your third date, so you know each other a little bit, but not super well. Go back to his house, you're enjoying your time with him, and then he's pushy. You don't want to do it. So now there's a mixture of emotions. Eventually he wears you down. What are those mixture? Well, part of them is that she does like him a little bit. So maybe she doesn't want him to hate her. So he continuously pushes boundaries. But then maybe she's also afraid because he won't take no for an answer, right? So you got like a lot of these things that are kind of mixed in here. And this is what I would call like how like sexual assault culture manifests itself in America. For a lot of ways. You know, there's also rape kits that are take a very long time to come back. So, yeah, I think that this is mostly like the way that it comes out. This is how I guess I would define it. But like I said before, there's like schools, a lot of times like college campuses that have their own police. They deal with this stuff internally, and they don't necessarily deal with it the way that they're supposed to. You know, it's just unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate. So this is how I would say that for the most part it manifests in America, or in the in America, I guess, other than America. So that's probably the best way that I would say. So
rape culture as an area, a general area where people think that they can take advantage of other people due to certain situations, which sometimes include like places like college campuses where there's a big congregate of people drinking and they're not sure where the level of consent is.
Okay.
Sure, yeah, and that's a good point too. And sometimes, I think a lot of like sexual assault culture manifests itself in like not necessarily knowing that what you did was wrong. Because if you were a guy that was in that situation with that girl, you may not even know that you pushed a girl's boundaries to the point where they couldn't or didn't feel comfortable enough to say no. And that's like the worst part about it, is not everybody who commits like, I guess you'd say, unintentional sexual assault is a bad person, right? But another thing is like drinking. There are some people there, and this is somewhat normal in like the college life, is go to like a party, get a girl really drunk. You're not as drunk, she's really drunk, and then take advantage of her. And it can happen both ways. Girls can do the same thing to guys. It just seems like guys are more likely to do that. So yeah, that's another problem too. And it's seen as like normal. It's like, yeah, well, she wanted it. But it's like, maybe she did when she was really drunk, to the point where like she was like, what, her inhibitions, is the word, was drastically lowered. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different things that seem so normal, and I would say that like are a problem, and people have to have a conversation about it. And, you know, especially I'd say younger guys, who are usually the ones with the physical power dynamic, to make sure. Because if someone's really drunk and you're not drunk at all, or you're not drunk or not very drunk, you shouldn't be sleeping with them regardless of whether they say yes or no. Like, well, obviously if they say no, but if they say yes.
So would it be fair to characterize rape culture as something, certainly as it's been, I guess, sort of described in academic circles, the idea of societal or a patriarchal society where rape is either encouraged or tolerated?
Kind of. I don't know if I would always call it rape, though, but sure, I guess. But he's going to set the standard. He asked her question, and then he didn't. That's not how she represented what she was saying for so much. But once he can establish like his version of what sexual assault culture is, he's just going to work from there, and he's going to make it seem like there's no problem.
Oh, like what? It doesn't have to be a male that rapes a female. Like it can be either way. But
I didn't say that.
Okay, well, what's your question?
Well, that's the idea of rape culture. The idea that rape is, and you sort of echoed that. I want to make sure we both agree to start with that it's a society or culture at large where rape is either promoted, encouraged, or tolerated.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't agree.
Can you tell me why?
Statistically, it doesn't bear out. We charge rapists. We put them in jail.
Sure, I think that there's a statistic from like RAINN, sexual assault. that talks about how like upwards of, what is it, 1 in 6 or 1 in 5 women have been sexually assaulted, but they're drastically underreported. A lot of that is also like a society that, I mean, part of it is like where some people don't feel comfortable enough to come forward because they don't think that they're going to be taken seriously. A lot of, let's see. Yeah, they don't feel like they're going to be taken seriously. But then part of it too is the unfortunate reality of like the way that we have to deal with sexual assault is, well, once it happens, you have to like immediately like report it, and if you don't, then and it's that can be more traumatic. You just got sexually assaulted. Now you have to go to the doctor, or you have to go to like a hospital. You have to get a rape kit done. You have to talk to police. You have to continuously like relive this tragic event. There's often times where after someone's sexually assaulted, they don't even necessarily know it. They know they've been violated, but they'll rationalize why it was okay, because a lot of times it's a guy or a girl that they like and they know, and they don't want to get them in trouble. And there's just so many nuanced aspects of it that aren't even necessarily part of like the normalization of it. Part of it's just like a fear coming forward. It's unfortunate. Yeah, let's read through like some of the rain. This is just this. Every 68 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. Sexual violence affects hundreds of thousands of Americans each year. I'm trying to see where they have like this. I'm gonna keep looking on here, but like I think it's like 1 in every 6 women get sexually assaulted. I'm gonna have to look up the statistics, but
rape is a very rare crime, and I don't believe that we live in a culture that supports or condones rape or tolerates it.
But what about the fact that so many rapists...
So like people don't get, it's not tolerated, like outward, like that's rape is not tolerated by anybody. It's one of those like gray areas where people aren't like super educated.
Don't go to jail. I know plenty of people. I've reported my rapist. He didn't go to jail. Many of my friends have reported their rapists. They didn't go to jail. Like, I actually literally don't know of people my age, anybody who's gone to jail, who has been apprehended. There are boys on this campus. I've been sexually assaulted by a boy on this campus who walks around and goes to class every single day. So how is that
really clear? First off,
apprehension?
Well, there's anecdotal, right, and then there's the empirical data. So I want to get away from me speaking for all men or people who are sort of right-leaning, and you speaking for all women or sort of advocates of a more progressive worldview. I'm going to adjust your phone. I think someone's calling in. It slipped down there. I want to make sure you get a good...
Yeah, so it's 1 in every 6 American women have been the victim of an attempted or completed rape in their lifetime. So 14.8% completed, 2.8% attempted.
Shot.
Thank you.
You went from rape, it's interesting to me, to sexual assault.
Yes.
First,
I'd say it's a reasonable blanket term, but
I think, again, it's very important that we define the terms. There's a delineation between the two. Would we agree?
Yeah, but would you say that like sexual assault isn't like a part of rape?
No, sexual assault is a part of rape, but someone can commit some kind of sexual assault or sexual harassment and it not be rape. So I'm probably pretty sure you don't want to get into your personal experience on camera. If you do, we can. But again, it goes back to the question, this idea that we support or we tolerate or we encourage rape, or that it's occurring in numbers that are out of the ordinary. Proportionally to other crimes, rapists are convicted at about the same rate as armed robbers, for example. Do we have an armed robbery culture? Rape is a horrible, terrible, heinous crime.
I mean, maybe. I mean, we do have like we have a culture of a lot of poor people that commit crimes they don't necessarily want to. But
yeah, and I'm not saying that like rape culture. Like, I'm honestly not talking about empirical data at all, and I don't think we should look at it as empirical data because, first of all, like, I don't know if you know how like uniform crime reports work, but that's like certain things that police don't report. So sometimes those numbers are skewed, first of all. And
sorry, what do you mean uniform crimes?
Do you know like uniform crime reports and how that works?
You mean several crimes going into one report?
No, it's like where the police report to the FBI specific crimes that occur, but they are like, sometimes they don't report everything, and that's how like...
It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I just don't know if you can make that like objective claim without a statistic, because he's just gonna say, well, I don't know what's the statistic on that.
Like, that's the problem. No, sometimes they just don't, because sometimes it looks better on their area. And so
I'd say there's another here.
Statistics can't always tell you exactly what happens. And then there's other forms of like methods, like the NCVS, they interview victims like one-on-one, or there's like self-reporting, and that shows that we're missing a lot of data that the police...
I would say like another aspect here of like sexual assault would potentially be the fact that like fact check, sex between police officers and their detainees isn't illegal in many states. Let's see. Or maybe this is like a saying it's wrong, but I believe it's 35 states police can legally have sex with a rape, and I guess rape would be because you're in like a power dynamic. Detainees if they claim it was consensual. So this would be a problem, although maybe this debunks that. Federal law criminalizes sex between officers and inmates in prisons. Okay, well they're not talking about inmates in prisons, they're talking about detainees, so that's actually not accurate. So yeah, that would be another aspect of it. They're talking about people detainees, not necessarily people that are in jail. That could potentially be another aspect of it.
just haven't reported to the FBI. So I don't think you can base all of this on.
I think a really good place to look is the military, because if you listen to a lot of people, especially women, talk about that, there's like a rampant like rape in the military. That's a huge issue.
On empirical data when.
Well, I think we can.
And a
but
lot
what
of
would
times it gets like covered up because it's like a buddy thing.
you base it on? Because you obviously referred to me as an idiot that rape culture is a
Yeah.
myth. Yeah.
And that's not me shitting on military members. So that's just talking about how like it does get suppressed in that capacity.
I'm basing.
Well, I
it
mean,
on
I saw
data.
you in your male privilege too, so.
Do you think I'm an idiot on that one as well?
Yeah, I do. I do. And like my brother and I were actually just talking about you yesterday. Like, yeah, you're really something. I don't know how you ended up back on this campus because you turned into a meme. Do you know that you're a meme?
Yeah.
On Twitter? Yeah. So I don't know how you have the audacity to like come back on our campus and say that rape culture is a myth, because that's personally offensive to a lot of people I know actually. And so especially like the audacity to come here and
The audacity
really
to come here and speak the truth. I have the
and
audacity
speak the
obviously.
truth.
Yeah.
What the is that?
Yeah.
You know what? How about somebody rapes you and then you come and tell me that rape culture is a myth?
That has nothing to do with what we're
What?
talking about.
How does that have nothing to do with what we're talking about? And I
talking
sit here and told you how empirical data is bullshit because of
I
UCR
don't-
crime reports.
I don't agree.
You didn't even know what a UCR crime report
Hold on a
is.
second,
Do you even
I
know what NCVS stands for? You tell me
Okay,
that.
so let's go through statistics.
Okay.
Well, how often do you believe rape occurs? Because again, rape culture, we both agree.
Often.
How
See,
often?
I cannot tell you the exact number because as I've
General.
repeated to you multiple times that like UCR crime reports are simply not accurate. And there are other like methods, and it is proven that those are not accurate. We do not have all of those numbers.
We don't have all those numbers. We have quite a bit. We have from the FBI, we have from the DOJ.
Yeah, but do you know where
We
the
have from
FBI gets
from
those?
the
Is those
CDC.
UCR reports that you didn't know
No, not
existed.
entirely, not
Let the
entirely.
record show he didn't know what a UCR crime report is. I learned that in my intro to criminal justice
So how
class.
often do you think rape occurs?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. For you to say that's idiotic to not believe that there's a rape.
I don't think that there has to be a specific time, because right now what she's talking about is like underreported. So if there is a suppression of sexual assault coming from, or reporting of sexual assault coming from police officers, like that would be a form of rape culture. It doesn't matter if there isn't a lot of rape going on.
Culture. Again, when we both agree.
You don't
on-
think there's rape culture. You just don't believe that.
I think there's an interrupting culture right now.
An interrupting culture.
Yeah,
Can you
I
define
think-
that for me?
You keep interrupting me.
I said, can you define that for me?
Yeah, you keep interrupting me. so
Okay,
I think
okay,
it's an
go
interrupting
off,
culture.
go off.
Yeah, so let me finish here. So for me to be so idiotic as to not believe in rape culture, which we both agree is the idea that rape is perpetuated, encouraged, or tolerated in a society.
What's the point of what this conversation? That's my real question. Is what is the point of this conversation? Like, what do we gain by establishing that there's no rape culture in the United States? I wonder what's the positive outcome, and what's like why go into a school and like try to claim against this? Because I believe that there is a rape culture, but like, what's the point? Is it to like, what's the message that's being sent from this? Is the message that's being sent that like, oh, see, there's no problem with rape? Because I would say that there's still a problem. The whole Me Too movement was sparked by elites, really financial elites, putting people in uncomfortable situations because they had money, or they were like bosses and they had like a power dynamic going on. So I don't really.
You would need to present some kind of data, anything. I know you think empirical data is bullshit. That's fine. Some kind of evidence to support your premise that rape is tolerated or encouraged in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it is tolerated. I mean, have you seen like Brett Kavanaugh? Are you familiar with that situation right now? Like,
Not at all. Enlighten me.
you don't know who Brett Kavanaugh is. This man doesn't know who Brett Kavanaugh is, and he's gonna sit here and tell.
So Breck, this is the story from I forget was it Christine Ford, Blasé Ford? This is her story, and like we don't know if it is true. This happened so long ago, but let's just take everything that she said as true. So my understanding, from what I remember, is what happened was Brett Kavanaugh, he's a Supreme Court member. It was when they were a lot younger, and she was at a party, and they were both at a party, and I believe they both got drunk, but like he got drunk and went to a room where she was in, and then like forced herself on her. She was like screaming and fighting back, and then he eventually stopped and moved on. Right? If this is true, that shows like an aspect of like rape culture, in some capacity. Because I would say back then something like that would be considered more normal. It's like a lot of people blamed her for even being there in the first place. The fact that she was drunk. But if somebody gets really drunk and then they aggress onto you, like what are you supposed to do? And the fact that things, at least back then, where it's like, yeah, well, they're both drunk, so what are you supposed to do about it? Kind of a thing. It's like, okay, but there's still like a forcing on there. Now, we don't know if it is or isn't true. This happened like a long time ago. I don't remember all the specific details, but that was very prevalent in that situation back then.
Tell me that rape culture is a myth. He is currently, Donald Trump is trying to appoint him to the Supreme Court. And the fact that you don't know that shows me that you don't actually really know what's going on in society, because that is a really big deal, and that is the Supreme Court is the highest
let's assume
level.
that I don't know who he is. So
Okay.
explain it to me. Why is that
So-
important in proving the idea of rape culture?
So he is currently, he is under fire for some sexual assault allegations, and that he, like, supposedly, we're not 100% sure, but he allegedly raped women when he was younger, and he, in front of a trial, was saying that, like,
I think that there are some people that came forward and like falsely claimed the girl wasn't necessarily it would be a sexual assault. It wouldn't be a rape. It's still part of sexual assault culture, but I don't think that there was more than one.
they found his
This happened in front of a
yearbook.
trial.
This is not a trial, but
okay.
it's in front of not Supreme Court justice. It's in front of senators,
Okay.
important people. And as they ask him these questions, they pull out his yearbook and they find terms like Devil's Triangle, which, if you don't know what that means, that's
No idea.
2 males and a female, and that's 2 males ganging up on a female. It is
Sounds
like
terrible.
it refers to rape, and so he's out here, and that's who they're trying to appoint.
And this man is Brett Kavanaugh?
Brett Kavanaugh, sir. And so the fact that, like, somebody this important that is going to be on the Supreme Court, which at this point I'm unsure of, like, what you know about the government, but
Yeah.
that is the highest position that you can acquire. And so
The Supreme Court justice.
a Supreme Court justice.
It's high up there.
It's high up there,
I
buddy.
appreciate it, yeah.
So the fact that a rapist is probably going to
A
still
rapist?
be appointed.
Is he a rapist? Because you said
He's
what
under
percentage-
FBI investigation, but it's a biased one because it is from the Republican side, which they want him appointed. So
So,
I will say, I know a lot of conservatives will talk about porn. I think this is a good conservative argument for rape culture. A lot of the conservatives will talk about porn a lot and how it kind of rots, especially a guy's brain. And I think that like the reality is we're getting a lot of our sexual education off of porn, which is usually very aggressive, and it plays to the fantasy of I don't really want this kind of sex that you actually really want, right? And it teaches, I think, men, young boys especially, because, you know, people start watching porn when they're young. Some of them are as young as 8, 10, 12, 14. A lot of like young people will watch pornography. They'll get a bad standard, or young men, they'll get a bad standard of what you're supposed to do in bed because they want to emulate that. That's what they think that women want. And then women will also watch porn because women watch porn too. And then they'll think that's something that they should put up with. And it sets people up for like a very rocky situation. I feel like that's a good conservative argument to make when it comes to like some kind of sexual assault culture, is understanding that like porn is very negative. I think that's probably the best understanding of it. Because I think I do think it sets people up for having bad expectations in bed.
I'd like to get back to Brett Kavanaugh because it seems like this is a big case. But again, that would be an anecdotal story. Again, how does that prove the statistic that rape is encouraged or committed at large in the United States and condoned?
you're telling me that, like, if the highest, the Supreme Court, if we're going to appoint somebody who participates in a Devil's Triangle
Yeah.
and refers to it as a Devil's Triangle, you're
I can't with the Devil's Triangle. It's kind of killing me. Sorry.
telling me that that's not the standard of what is good and what is right?
So, can I answer your question?
Yeah, you can answer my question.
So if I'm to answer the question on Brett Kavanaugh and Dr. Christine Ford, or any of the other allegations coming forward from Michael Avenatti, who represents actually the other lady who accused him of gang rape as well, that's separate again from the evidence. It's about 1 in 1,900 women are raped in the United States according to the FBI. It's about 1 in 1,000 for college students. If you include all sexual assault according to the Department of Justice, or Bureau of Justice, it's about 1 in 52 of all sex. That includes, playing grab ass. With Brett Kavanaugh, it's interesting that you mentioned.
See, right there, I didn't like that. So I just want to be explicitly clear about this. Just re-listen to this again.
It's about 1 in 52 of all sex. That includes, playing grab ass.
So, like, that is, and I'm not shitting on Crowder for it, but it's, like, shitty of him. So I just want to listen to
1,900 women are raped in the United States according to the FBI. It's about 1 in 1,000 for college students. If you include all sexual assault according to the Department of Justice, or Bureau of Justice, it's about 1 in 52 of all sex. That includes, playing grab ass.
So I don't like that line that includes playing grab ass, because to me, that just communicates that he's trying to downplay playing grab ass. Like, it's just playing grab ass. Like, they want to add just that in there. Grabbing somebody, regardless of whether they're a boy or a girl, grabbing their ass without their consent is still shitty. Like, it's not rape, but like, why? It just comes off. It just comes off as jarring. It feels like a downplay. It's still a violation of like your personhood and your autonomy as a person. So it's still shitty.
With Brett Kavanaugh, it's interesting that you mentioned.
When it comes to like actual assault, we'll consider spitting assault, and people be like, "Yep, that's assault," and I have every right to fight back if somebody spits on me, which I agree with. But then somebody grabs your ass without consent, and all of a sudden, it's just a little grab ass. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like an unnecessary downplay. He also doesn't have the basic understanding of those reported to the law isn't an accurate number. Yeah, no, people aren't. That's the thing, is that these aren't all reports. Like we were reading before, what did he say? Like, what percentage of people are?
About 1 in 1,000 for college students. If you include all sexual assault according to the Department of Justice, or Bureau of Justice, it's about 1 in 52 of all sex. That includes,
So 1 in 52. But we were reading Rain, and it says, what was it? I think it was 16 or 17% of women are sexually assaulted. So that would be that these are obviously very different numbers. Then it comes down to like, so why are they underreported? Well, part of it could be that some people just don't bother reporting it. It's like, well, I somebody grabbed my ass and like it made me really uncomfortable, but I'm not going to bother reporting it. Maybe some people are too afraid to come forward after they've been like sexually assaulted in a deeper way because they're either not going to be believed or it's going to be downplayed, or maybe they just don't want to relive another traumatic experience. But then also part of it could be a downplay from like FBI statistics. You don't have to like come all over statistics to be like, I don't believe in rape culture. You could say like, I understand that, and I would disagree overall because I still think that there's a sexual assault culture, and I've showed you why. But you could just be like, yeah, I understand that they're underreported, but like, why are they underreported? Are they underreported because society tells people they can't report it, or in some capacity, or are they underreported because people just don't feel comfortable? Like having like a more intelligent conversation about it. And grab ass is exactly rape culture, teaching it's okay to put your hands on the body without their permission. Exactly. Like the fact that he called it grab ass, that right there is Crowder expressing like a societal normalization of like that being kind of okay. He'll be like, no, it's not okay. But like, you're like, yeah, that includes like grab ass. Like, it sounds like a downplay of what sexual assault is. Because yeah, some sexual assault could be grab ass. Some of it could also be pinning a girl against the wall and grabbing her tits. These are, you know what I mean? So it's like really downplaying. It's just annoying because there's no way he believes what he's saying. You don't think Crowder actually believes what he's saying? Maybe that's true.
Playing grab ass. With Brett Kavanaugh, it's interesting that you mentioned a percentage. What evidence has been presented?
It's a bunch of...
Place.
What do you mean by place?
Where did it happen?
Where did it happen? I don't freaking know. I wasn't at his high school.
When?
It was back when he was in high school, like lower age.
General.
Yeah,
Okay.
general.
Who?
It's these, if you're familiar with Miss Ford, she has come forward.
Crowder has a young daughter. That's unfortunate. You know what's really, if he does, here's the bad thing, because I doubt he's a bad father. Like, he probably loves his kid a lot. If Crowder does, I'll look into it. But the problem is when you speak like this, you're teaching your daughter without really understanding it, that like she can't be safe coming to you if something happens. And it's just the reality. If he does have a daughter, and so like hopefully he understands that. Because that, like, people who speak like this, they tend to make their daughters feel unsafe to like come to them and express to them a particular issue if they have it, because it just communicates that he doesn't necessarily care about an issue that he can't identify with, because he's a big, strong guy. I will never understand, well, hopefully, what it's like to be sexually assaulted, because I'm like a bigger, stronger guy. Like, I'd always fight back, but I'm a big guy. I could fight back, and some people don't feel like they can, especially women who tend to be weaker than men. Like, we understand fundamentally that men are stronger than women, especially conservatives. They like to talk about it, especially when it comes to trans women in sports. So then you should understand, trans women aren't men, but I'm just, reinforcing a point. So then, that should be part of your understanding of it.
And then I believe one or two other women have come forward and said this, but Ford
I think like one or two of them were like proven to be a lie. I don't remember the specifics.
Definitely the
No, she brought forward
forerunner.
witnesses, all of whom could not corroborate her story somewhat. They outright refuted it.
I mean, like, this woman
again,
is
my
willing
standard-
she's actually willing to undergo intense FBI investigations. She has had no resistance to that, but he has actually denied over and over. He keeps saying he doesn't want it, and now they're giving him like a little FBI investigation. I think this is something you should look into personally.
None of what you've just said is correct. Does the word hubris mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't. Thank
The
you.
fact that did you really think that I didn't know who Brett Kavanaugh was?
Husband, you know how people are. If you get the other person to have an emotional reaction, you typically come off as a grounded and correct. That's fair. So this is what my wife thinks. I don't know if it's true. My wife tends to be very good judge of character. What she's saying is that she doesn't really think that Crowder believes even what he's saying, but it's more about him just being as emotionally provocative as possible, because he feels like if he can get an emotional reaction out of somebody, he's going to signal to his audience, oh, I must be correct because they're getting emotional. Because course, getting emotional means you're always wrong in every capacity. It can't just mean that you believe in something and a little bit more passionately. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's completely possible. It's possible.
I really did.
I mean, he might just be making content because at the time rape culture was a conversation that was like really big, like the Me Too, and he just wanted to be a contrarian. So
Honestly, at this point, like, I'm unsure what you actually know.
Right. Yeah. The whole reason was I was hoping for you to sit down. And you see now, if you go back, every single thing I told you I didn't know, because I wanted you to explain to me. You've explained nothing. You've presented no evidence or data. The only time you've addressed evidence or data is saying that's bullshit, to use your words, and it doesn't matter. The amount of rapes matter. The conviction rates matter. What we do with rapists matter.
That's true. I agree with Mama God. This is the same guy who did a reenactment of George Floyd's death to prove it didn't happen. Yeah, that's fair. I saw that. That was disgusting.
And when you come out and you say we live in a rape culture, and you compare Dr. Christine Ford's allegations, let's say we have no idea whether they're true or not. Zero evidence whatsoever from 35 years ago. You can't run an investigation about who, what, when, where, or why. We have none of it. To then use that as a springboard to say that we live in a rape culture, I think is intellectually disingenuous.
Well, she brought up a lot of other things as well. She talked about how like the inaccurate reporting of crime statistics, the fact that her and her friends have all been experienced sexual assault, and you just were like, I can't use those. So I will say that you can't really call her intellectually dishonest when this wasn't even her only argument, but you locked onto this argument. But okay.
And I think it does a great disservice to people who've actually been the victim of a horrible crime.
Yeah, I'm aware because I've been a victim to that crime, and as you say, like, you haven't. And you know, like you said, you didn't know what a uniform crime report is, and so maybe if you...
He thinks it'll be a disservice to people who've been sexually assaulted? What? Like, that has to be a bait line, right? Like, why would you... It does a great disservice. How does it do a great disservice? Even if they're wrong, how does it do a great disservice? It just... Okay.
I also said I didn't know who Brett Kavanaugh was.
So, I mean, maybe you do know what that is, so then how can you sit here and tell me that...
How can you sit here...
That this is all, like, these statistics are all 100% correct?
No.
And who the hell let you back on this campus?
It's a public sidewalk.
So nobody invited you here?
You can't just see.
Officers, if nobody invited him here, can we ask him to leave this campus?
He needs to leave.
Is this being handled?
I mean, like, very clearly that was just meant to, like, bro, I it's telling this girl that, like, she's diminishing sexual assault survivors with her, like, her ideology is just fucking dumb. Like, to me, it was just meant to upset her intentionally to make it seem like he got the virtuous win. In no way does that, how does it, like, it, what is, just like a shitty person. Yeah.
You're a hero? Who the f*** said that? Raise your hand! Raise your hand if you're so f***ing proud of it! Have you ever been raped?
No.
And don't say shit? Then shut the f*** up!
Let me ask you this: have you ever had your house under threat with a bomb threat? You ever had the FBI at your house have to actually circle your house and have armed guards? So
no.
the point is, we all have individual experiences, but that does not change the fact of the matter that we do not encourage a rape culture in the United States. Rape is a horrible crime.
I mean, just for the fact that Crowder said, "Oh, like playing grab ass," which is a downplay of sexual assault. It's very clear that Crowder doesn't even realize how he is a perpetuator of rape culture, which is how it works. People are fucking, they don't even realize that they're doing it themselves.
Let's use Brett Kavanaugh as an example because you brought him up. This is really important. First off, what happened to you, I don't know the story. I don't want you to get into personal details if you're uncomfortable. Horrible, terrible. If that happened, I can't say that it has because I'm not allowed to.
Oh, yeah.
Ew, why? Oh. Bro, at this point, I'm pretty sure he's just trying to be provocative. Like, why say this?
Because you brought him up. This is really important. First off, what happened to you, I don't know the story. I don't want you to get into personal details if you're uncomfortable. Horrible, terrible. If that happened, I can't.
Like, if that happened, like, why question her sexual assault? It's not like she named a guy specifically. It was like, that guy raped me, and then, like, now we're in trial. She's like, I have an experience, and it's about her. It's not about the person. And he's like, if that happened, why? Dude, this is pretty shitty. I'm pretty sure he's just trying to, like, rile her up at this point.
Can't say that it has because I'm not allowed to.
Oh, yeah, of course. It probably hasn't.
Well,
so.
no, legally I can't accuse a man of something if he has not been convicted.
There's no man that's been accused. She didn't say that guy over there raped me. If she did that, then maybe now he's like, listen, I don't really know. She's just talking about her own personal experience. And now he's like, well, I don't know if it actually. Yeah, man, Crowder's just a shitty person.
Of a crime. I believe you though. I believe you. I'm really
you're
sorry.
Such a good person.
I'm really sorry that happened to you. But a good example with Brett Kavanaugh. If Brett Kavanaugh did all the things that he accused him of, for example, a triangle, gang rape. If he raped people, cocked his head back and left, I say that castrate him and give him life. But if it's not true, I feel probably worse for him than any man I can think of in recent memory. The only difference between the two is castrate the man versus empathy is the truth. And I think with all of these arguments,
but so you're just saying this, you don't have the evidence either.
We're trying to seek the truth. I do.
Yeah, but like we don't have the truth, so how can you just say that?
That's a good question.
I'm gonna have to interrupt.
That's a good question.
That would be awesome. But like, why is he allowed on our campus if this isn't even like an organized event? No, I am not part of this event.
Okay, so you're free to go anytime. You don't have to actually.
Yeah, I know, but if he's gonna sit here and say that rape culture is a myth, then somebody needs to sit here and say.
We're gonna deal with that, but you're not helping the situation by adding to it.
I mean, the cop's not wrong. He's he's just doing the best he can. You know, you know what I'm saying? I don't blame the cop, but he's right. Like, she can get up and walk away. And, you know, I don't know if you can just remove him from campus because he's saying things that you disagree with. The best thing to do would really just to be to not engage with Crowder, and then he wouldn't have any content, frankly.
So adding him, no,
by adding to it, I added to rape culture by getting raped.
Whatever he has to do.
You're not mad.
I understand.
So if I
A
called
lot of jump cuts in this. Very interesting.
you and said somebody raped me, you wouldn't be mad?
But that's
Well,
not
you
what's
just twisted my words, and I didn't say that.
Officer, what
Officer,
is
we
it?
want to work with you.
And I did not say I didn't have that.
I've been raped on your campus,
Yeah,
sir.
and I'm sorry for that. Did we take care of you?
No, sir, he's still walking around on this campus.
Well, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get some order here, and if you're not willing to have to be a part of this, then you're free to leave. Okay?
Well, if no one else is going to stand up for it, then I'm going to stand up for it.
Then you're okay staying here. 'Cause I just want to make sure he's not doing anything to you, harming you.
No, I'm not,
All
officer.
right.
So we can continue the conversation if you like, or anyone else will move forward.
I actually have class to get to, but
Okay.
you know what? I hope you enjoy this, and I hope that you never get raped because it's horrible.
I hope so,
And
too. I
rape
hope-
culture
and I hope
exists, and you're telling me 1 in 1,000? I can tell you that's bullshit.
1 in 1,900.
Do you see 1,900 people standing here? I can guarantee you, multiple people right here have been raped, and this is not 1,900 people. So,
Yeah, I mean, again, Rain, with their own independent study, came out to 1 in 6 were like sexually assaulted, which I understand isn't necessarily explicitly rape, but it's quite a bit higher than what he was saying. You know what I mean? I think it's important to look at that data as well,
Okay, how can you guarantee that?
and if anybody needs TCPD because they've been raped,
which is like 1 in 7. Oh wait, 1 in 6. Sorry, it was like really dumb. 1 in 1,900 versus like 1 in 6, right? So
good luck because they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. Film it if you want, post it if you want. I introduced myself to this man, and this man is saying 1 in 1,900? 1,900?
According to the FBI, yeah.
According to the FBI, 1 in 1,900 people have been raped. I can guarantee that I am not the only one standing here that's been raped. And we are not 1,900. So thank you. And thank you. And I hope you get the hell off our campus.
yeah, okay. Well, that was something. Yeah, I mean, he's just not going to get it. He just doesn't get it. I don't think that he cares to get it because at this point, he's completely financially locked into saying this thing. And this is one of the problems when it comes to like political pundits is like a lot of people just aren't going to be honest because even let's say even if his perspective was changed, he'll never admit it because he's a hero, guys. According to somebody apparently who said that there. So he would never be able to even get into a space where he could educate himself and encourage himself to like be a little bit more intelligent about this. So cool stuff. Cool stuff. Yeah, they probably realistically speaking, people should just like not like interact with the guy. But at this point, he's already become popular enough, and you can't blame those people for being like emotionally provoked. But you know, I would say be careful with it because that seems to be the goal.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.